Welcome into everybody to the week 11 Q&A starts it show, whatever you want to call it. We're back and better than ever here to help you guys with your fantasy lineups as all those questions roll into the chat. We already have several in. My name is Michael Sicoli. I'm joined by Ricky Rodri, our co-owner here with IDP Plus. I'm here with Joe at OP Joe, Sean Quixote, as he's going today, at Sean8386, and obviously Ricky was at Ricky Rod 66. How's everyone doing today? I'll start with you, Ricky. You're looking. I feel like you're chipper this morning. I feel like you're chipper.
I am extremely chipper, and particularly when I was thinking back to last week's show, when Sean Quixote and I had this very interesting debate about Hufanga versus Lenore for one of our listeners. And I told the listeners if they wanted to get it right, go with Hufanga. I have this premonition. Sure enough, Hufanga pulls down the interception. Lenore didn't do too bad, so Sean will get a B+ for that one. But the A answer was so. So whenever I get one of those over my buddy Sean, I feel good. But I'm also thrilled because we have OP Joe today. We have Joe today. Joe is part of the offensive points team along with Billy and Josh, who have just recently joined us at IDP Plus. By the way, IDP Plus is where we're going to from a brand perspective. So IDPguys.org will become IDP Plus. But Joe and Billy and Josh have joined us. They have a show every Wednesday night. Plus, they're doing some special shows. They just did a great trade target show as well. So thrilled to have Joe on board as well. So a lot of reasons to be excited.
Yeah, Ricky, thanks for having me, and thanks for welcoming me to IDP Plus. It's great to be here. Josh, Billy, and I love it. So
it feels only fair to also give Sean a chance to rebuttal with the Lenore and Hufanga debacle last week.
Debacle. Whoa, I don't know if it was
that a harsh word. Debacle's a harsh word. Debate. I'll go with a different view.
There we go. In my defense, I think I took Blackman over Moore the previous week, where Moore had 2 pick sixes. So I thought, hey, I'm going to give corners a chance this week instead of going against the safety green, and it got me. So, but I appreciate how extremely humble Ricky is about the whole situation.
As always, that's his middle name. It's Ricky Humble Rodri. That's our nickname for him on the show here because of all those amazing premonitions.
I do often hurt myself, patting myself on the back. I must admit,
too strong. You're too strong. That's the issue. But we're going to be getting into all those questions to help you guys out with your Week 11 lineup. Everything Ricky said before, like I said, we are the IDP Plus podcast. We're making that transition over from IDP, guys. You're going to keep on hearing more about that from us. This is going to be a gradual change. Don't be shocked. Don't be anything like that. It's going to be great. Either way, going to get into those questions. Good to see Fantasy Breakout. Stephen Smith, I believe that was Nate over there. Fantasy Sports and Willpower in the chat with some of these questions. We're going to be getting to them very soon. Want to encourage everybody to keep on commenting on YouTube for us to see those comments. That seems to be where we're able to pull them up, is on YouTube, not as much on Facebook or Twitter, but we can pull them up on YouTube. So if you drop in those questions, we can pull them up right now. Be sure to follow IDP Guys at IDP Guys on our social handles, which eventually will obviously also change a little bit. But for now, still IDP Guys, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, of course, all those amazing things to check out all the amazing content that we're putting out, just like Offensive Points is putting out, as Ricky pointed out at the top of the show. So let's get into some of those questions in here, starting off with a big question from Fantasy Break. And I do want everyone to think long and hard about this one, all right? How you guys doing? How's everyone doing? Jojo, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good. Got a lot of family coming in this week. My birthday is Wednesday, so starting off the week well.
Oh, well, happy early birthday. Gotta be fun having that right before Thanksgiving, too.
I get the whole family in town almost every year, so it's great.
Cake and turkey. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sean, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm not doing as good as having my birthday this week, but man, congrats. My son's birthday was this past Friday, so I now have my official first teenager, which has been really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it's got me feeling
big day. Congratulations.
Appreciate that. It's got me feeling as old as Ricky is up there, but other than that, I'm doing good.
I resemble that remark of being older. I do. But you see, I'm through all the teenage stuff. You get to look forward to teaching them to drive and paying for car insurance and all that kind of fun stuff too, Sean. So get ready.
Yeah, I think I just got older hearing all that.
Let's move on to an actual fancy question in here. Stephen Smith saying, "Good morning, guys. Stumped on whether to start between this bunch, picking two of Bobby Wagner, Quincy Williams, Devin Lloyd, and Jordan Brooks. The Quincy injury and kind of a slightly underwhelming last 2 weeks has really hurt him and making him question that. I'm all in on a Quincy bounce back. I will firmly hammer that home this week, but I'll let you guys start it off. Joe, let's kick off with you here. Which of the two do you want?"
Yeah, Brooks had a down week last week, but I mean, he's been racking stuff up. So that calf injury that he suffered a couple weeks ago, I don't know if that's a lingering thing, but I would lean Brooks and Wagner. But I do like your thought on the Quincy Williams bounce back.
Ricky.
I'm almost aligned with Joe. I like Quincy Williams, but I'm going with Wagner on this one as well, along with Quincy. I'm going with those two studs. Brooks did have a down week. The Rams don't give up a ton of points to linebackers as well, so I'd rather have the man in the middle. So I'm going Wagner and Quincy on that one.
And Sean.
I want to take whatever's left just to really make this hard.
That way, one of us always comes out on top.
Yeah. That way, we keep our percentages up. But no, it's hard for me to say Quincy because I know how well he's done this year. So I think I do start him here, and then it's down to Wagner or Jordan Brooks. Wagner going against his former team here with the Rams. I don't know if he'll be more inclined to kind of go off this week or not. I don't really want to agree with Ricky, but I will.
Way to be a weird person. I find it so interesting that nobody considers Devin Lloyd in this spot. Just, he has the best match with a bunch against Tennessee, a run-heavy team. And while, Will Levis does change that a bit, and I get that pause, Devin Lloyd has been on fire. I'm going to go with
he has 7-8 tackles in each of the last 4 games or something.
He had 10. He had 10 in his last time out against San Fran. Just didn't really provide anything else. That's I guess the issue. He hasn't had TFL since. Oh my goodness, has he had a TFL? Yeah, he doesn't have a TFL this season. So that's part of the reason. So he's either pass deflection, just turnover dependent. He doesn't get the splash play. So I guess that's a fair point. I'll go Wagner and Quincy. Jordan Brooks. I'd play Devin Lloyd over Jordan Brooks, but ever so slightly personally. Let's go on. Another question from Fancy Breakout here. Remember, keep on dropping those questions in the chat. We are going to try to get to as many as we can. So if we don't pull it up as soon as you say it, trust that we're going to get to it eventually over time. Fancy Breakout asking, picking one defensive lineman here. Brian Burns, returning from that injury. Jeffrey Simmons, D'Amico Autry, or Jonathan Allen against the Giants. All good options. Tough to pick only one. Let's start with you this time, Sean.
Jonathan Allen is probably the one that jumps off the quickest to me. I love that matchup against the Giants.
That's very fair. They are terrible.
Yeah, right. So then, how about just picking one?
You're just picking one somehow.
Yeah. Jonathan Allen, let it ride.
Okay. How about you, Ricky?
I love it when Sean is right, and I think he's right on this one. The Giants' offensive line is just so horrific. I've talked about that week over week, and I usually quote the exact names of who's out and who's playing. But I'll save our audience from doing that this week, and I'm going to roll with Jonathan Allen, just tearing up the middle of that Giants' offensive line.
Joe.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Allen's awesome. The Giants are really struggling. Tommy DeVito's playing injured, so he should be an easy target back there. I really want to say Brian Burns here because I just, it's a game against a great team. People are going to be watching. He wants that contract. So, I don't know. I'll go Jonathan Allen with the team.
I'm going to dissent here. And I like the Jonathan Allen take. I do. The Giants are they're I believe they're tied, if not worse than Washington at this point in sacks allowed. So it's a fantastic matchup for Allen. Don't hate any of these options. I'm going to go with Simmons. That interior of the interior of the Jaguars offensive line has been incredibly disappointing. The balanced nature of the offense gives a pretty solid floor. Simmons has established probably the best floor of this bunch. And we know what ceiling Jeffrey Simmons has because of the ability he has to get to the quarterback. And I do think the Titans are going to make this a slugfest against the Jaguars this week. So I'm going to lean Jeff Simmons. I don't think you're going wrong with any of these four, truthfully. I think you could put in a random generator. But we're your random generator today. Either way, I believe this is Nate or ourselves needs a flex from the IDP guys here. Calvin Ridley or Devon A-Chain, I have strong feelings about this to the point where I'm just going to start. It's A-Chain. A-Chain. I was saying it before the show, and I think we were all in agreement. I am doing my absolute best to get Calvin Ridley out of any lineup I have because I'm over it. I'm over it, which means, as Joe said before,
he's gonna go off.
He's gonna go off 3 touchdowns, 150, 700 catches, the whole deal, whole 9 yards. But I'm gonna go with A-Chain. I'm riding that hot hand. The hot hand hasn't cooled off despite the injury, I swear. But Joe or Ricky, I'll go with you this time.
That Tennessee secondary is really bad.
Yes, it is. But so is that tight. The Jaguars are just not living up to expectations in general right now. The entire passing attack has not lived up to expectations.
So I'm betting Nathan is asking this question related to the Scott Fishbowl team, and he and I have another friendly side thing going on about who finishes higher than Scott Fishbowl. So I want to convince him to go with Ridley over H.M.
Okay, good. We're providing unbiased opinions here with the IDP Plus podcast.
Very unbiased.
Joe, which of the two do you want?
I want A-Chain, but like I said before the show, I'm kind of superstitious of things, and I believe the fantasy football groupthink always ends up screwing us in the end. So this is probably the week that Ridley goes off. I will have him in a couple of tournament lineups on DraftKings when I get done with this today. Just because of this conversation. But A-Chain, he's coming back. I mean, he looked like an absolute force, and we know the Dolphins are trying to get back on the map after the bye and the loss to Kansas City.
If Ridley blows up, that confirms the script is real. I can't fathom this. It's just so frustrating. I was so in on him. Sean, to pick your fighter.
Yeah. I love how sick Oli Michael is about this pun. I can't help you, Ricky. Make Ridley look good in this. It's AJ. It's the Dolphins.
Once again, totally unbiased.
Unbiased. I'm just going off, proven performance at this point. And Ridley hasn't done much of anything outside of he's touchdown or nothing. It's boom or bust, and it's not even that big of a boom. So, yeah, HN all the way.
This is not how I thought Week 11 would be looking for Calvin Ridley. But, oh, well, either way, there's a good reminder that we do obviously take plenty of offensive questions in these start-sit shows on Sunday. So be sure to submit all those tough decisions that you're making with your rosters, defensive or offensive. We're here to help out. Fancy breakout with the question here. What is your favorite defensive back of these guys? Derwin James, Kevin Byard, now with the Eagles, Nate Hobbs, or a Lions defensive back. I'm assuming that's Curry Joseph, Jerry Jacobs, the bunch. Man, it's a pretty good group here. Two stand out to me, and that's Derwin James and Nate Hobbs. But I'll let Joe, you can start us off here about which is your favorite defensive back of this group.
Michael, I'm right there with you. I think Derwin James is going to make life miserable for Jordan Love today. And Nate Hobbs, thank God he's back. I mean, we're seeing the tackles of the pass breakups, and he's playing near the line. And you're not getting that a lot out of the cornerback position with a lot of these guys. So I like James and Hobbs.
Ricky.
I'm right there, too, with those two. But for me, it's Derwin James is the one I'm starting. Just love if you look at the last 3 weeks, how he's played and how much he's being used. The one the one risk with Derwin is he going to get thrown out for all these helmet-to-helmet hits at some point? But boy, I love the way he plays, and he's been playing more aggressively. And where he had some up and down early in the season, last 3 weeks have been phenomenal for Derwin. So I'm riding with Mr. James.
Sean.
I think I'm going a little different here. I do like Hobbs probably the most, but I'm looking at Kevin Byard this week.
Interesting.
It's a big game, really big game, and I thought Joe would take Byard. To be honest with you, being a Philly fan up there, right?
Oh, Josh is a huge Philly fan, and
okay.
We've been friends forever. So he's got me on the Philly. I am a Bears fan by heart, but I like Byard. I just want to see it before I trust it.
That's fair.
Yeah, we haven't seen that top tier ceiling from Byard yet. We've had a very good floor of that, the 10 to 12 points type thing in most formats, but we haven't quite seen the ceiling. I thought you were gonna go with Hobbs for a second there, Sean. So I was gonna say I'm gonna split, but I'm gonna go with Hobbs here. I'm not worried about Derwin James, but I hate playing defensive players against the Packers because they just run the slowest offense in the league. They just don't run a ton of plays on offense. That really has hurt the ability to get defensive points, especially downfield, because that downfield passing attack has been non-existent for the Packers. But like you said, Derwin James used all over. I'm sure he's going to be great. I'm just going to go with Hobbs against a very pass-happy Miami team, and Nate Hobbs is just a tackle machine. So that's where I lean. Fantasy Sports with a offensive question here. Mike Evans or Deontay Johnson? We're talking floor versus ceiling city right here. The two representatives of both of those. Ricky, do you have a preference of the two here?
I have both of those two in one of my dynasty leagues, and it's a start 5 wide receivers, and Deontay Johnson is 5th of the 5. Evans is second only behind Diggs. So I've kind of done some studying related to my own dynasty team for this one. The San Francisco 49ers, yes, they acquired Chase Young. So, yes, their pass rush is theoretically going to be better and so forth. But they've been getting killed in that secondary. I also expect San Francisco to put up a lot of points against Tampa, which has Tampa throwing. Baker, in 3 last 4 games, he's had over 40 passes attempts, if I remember correctly. So I'm all in on Mike Evans on this one, and for me, it's not even close.
I'm in agreement with you there. I'm going to go with Mike Evans here. It's a good matchup. I've seen some people point out some signs that this could be a down week for Evans, but he still has 40 yards or more in every single game this year. We know what he can do in terms of touchdown scoring, so that's where I lean. Joe, which of the two are you going to pick?
I am going Evans all day. After last week, I don't see any way where you could make a case for sitting him. He should have had an even bigger game last week, but he dropped that long ball. It should have been a touchdown. So I'm going Evans all day. I do like Deontay Johnson, but, you're dealing with Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett is nothing. He can go out and throw him a touchdown, best case scenario. He can go out and, what we saw last week, do nothing. So,
yeah, I completely agree with all that. So, Sean, wrap us out here.
Yeah, it comes down to the touchdowns. We know Evans can get them, and it takes Deontay Johnson like 2 years to get one. So, with all the great quarterback play between them, it's Evans easily.
That Steelers game is going to be such a slugfest. I believe the over-under right now is at 33 and dropping. So factor that in with your scoring right now, because I would honestly lean the under in that one. I'm thinking like 13-10 Browns is where I'm leaning. But another one from Fantasy Sports here, picking one of, I guess, the two options. Jerome Ford or Isaiah Pacheco. It is PPR, which doesn't really help either of these guys too much, but Jerome Ford and Pacheco. Pacheco, a tough matchup against the Eagles. And Ford, a somewhat favorable matchup against the Browns, or against the Steelers. Sean, which one are you picking here?
So at first, I thought I would take Pacheco here easily, but the more I think about it, the Browns are going to lean on Ford, I would imagine, and the Steelers are just so banged up, linebacker, safety. Yep. I mean, there's a good chance he pops off one of those big runs this week. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Ford. I don't like it, but I think that's what I'm going with.
I'm with you on that one. I just love the matchup too much, and I'm a little bit scared of the Eagles front compared to the Steelers front. Ricky, which one are you picking?
I gotta say, Sean must have had a really good breakfast because he's pretty hot this morning. And so I absolutely agree on Ford over Pacheco. Plus, the other thing with Pacheco is going up against the Eagles, which once again they've been more of a sieve on the passing side versus the rushing side. And with DTR quarterback for Cleveland, I do expect them to try and run on the running game, on short passes, etc. So I love Ford over Pacheco on this one.
I'll be shocked if Ford doesn't get at least 16 carries in this one. Joe, which one are you taking?
Yeah, it's Jerome Ford, 100%. You know, DTR is going to lean on him. He's pretty much their only offense at this point because we haven't seen anything from DTR to this point. Pacheco, we did our trade show, and Pacheco is an absolute buy opportunity. Great schedule the rest of the year, but today, tomorrow, not the one. And the one thing is, Pacheco has been getting a little bit more involved in passing, but in this game, I think it would be more McKinnon. I'm just feeling a McKinnon game here. So
that also seems to be the way the Chiefs are finishing out years. And maybe I'm just biased off last year's swing, or maybe it was 2 years ago, but it does feel like in these November, December games, they start getting McKinnon a little bit more involved, and that could be totally circumstantial, but just something to consider.
Yeah, we see that play. Sorry to cut you off there, but we see that play all the time. McKinnon lines up to the right of Mahomes, kind of cuts through, doesn't block, and then the shuttle pass happens, and he's in the end zone. So
yeah,
it seems to be, you know, he gets 2 touchdowns every game. He gets those, and I could see this being one in what should be a high scoring matchup.
Yeah, I think it's going. Kelsey's going to have a ridiculous game on Monday night. Certainly my captain for any DFS lineups. Will Power with the question in here, a very gross one. His words, not mine, although it is. Rondale Moore or Jahan Dotson this week and rest of season for full PPR. He's got the puke emoji, and it's fair enough to do. Ooh, what a fun one. I love these type of questions. Believe it or not, I genuinely do, but that's because I'm a Dynasty diehard. Ricky, take your amazing warrior of this duo.
Oh, wow. This is an interesting one. On the one hand, you have Dotson, who I believe Howell is allergic to for some reason. And then you have Rondale Moore, who has Kyler Murray back. And last year, Moore, I believe it was 7 targets per week he was averaging from Kyler. Now, granted, a very different offense, but last week he had 8 targets, and where Hollywood, I believe, only had 4. If I need a boom play this week, I'm probably taking the chance on Dotson. And that's going to be literally boom or bust. If I need a floor play because of who I'm playing against, I'm going with Moore. Rest of season, I'm gonna go and gamble with Dotson because of the amount that Howell is throwing the ball. But that's how I would answer it for today and for the rest of the season. Not feeling really great on that, but maybe it's just because of the 2 people we're picking between.
You're never. I don't think anyone's going to feel great about picking one side of this or the other. But Joe, which side are you taking?
Man, in a perfect world, it would be Dotson. He is the most talented. He is electric with the ball in his hands. But I'm going Rondale Moore for us this season and this week because Kyler, not a tall guy. By the time he gets to where he can see around that line, the play's already developed downfield. The defense has sniffed it out. Rondale Moore is sitting there for the 7-yard dump off. Rondale Moore is his guy. Mighty Mouse to Rondale Moore is a winning connection.
Sean,
I'm with Joe on this one. I love the breakdown. Yeah, the 7-yard check down. Probably a sweep in there somewhere as well. But yeah, Dotson just, you know, he's got the talent. He's got the matchup this week. We just can't rely on Howell. And this game might get out of hand real quick. You know, we could just see a running back game here after, you know, a quick lead. Yeah, more this week and rest of the season.
I'm gonna object to you saying we can't rely on Sam Howell. Commander Howell is a franchise quarterback, and if I have been
to get it to Dotson though,
so good, I love him. But that's not the point. The point is I'm somewhere split between both you guys between all you guys because I'm going to go with Rondale Moore rest of season. I'm going to play Jahan Dotson this week. I love that Giants matchup. I'm going to play him in that. I do think that he has a better chance to have a big week than Moore, but Moore has a really good schedule coming up and the return of Kyler for the great breakdown that Joe just provided. I'm not going to reiterate because every word he said is what I agree with as well. So Rondale Moore rest of way, Jahan Dotson this week would be my pick. But Rugaro also saying, hey, Joe, my guy, just want to pull that out. I love
What's up, man?
I love that profile photo. That's
So
really-
so Rugaru has been a long follower of the OPs. Is that right, Joe?
Yes. Yeah, he is one of our diehards. Joins the show. Awesome dude. Happy to see him here.
And with that in mind, let's jump to his question in here. Seems only right. Struggling with a couple decisions here: Landon Roberts or Eric Kendricks, and then you got Marquise Bell, or I assume that's Donovan Wilson. Pick between those Dallas safeties, if you can call them safeties, and the linebackers there. I'll start off here by saying Landon Roberts for sure. Brown's going to run up all day. Landon Roberts has to play because there's no one else left. And it's a little bit tougher between the Dallas safeties. I'll go Marquise Bell, but his snaps were a little bit lower than I would have liked last week. Maybe it's the blowout, maybe it's something else, but I'll go Marquise Bell with some reluctance, but I'll go with Landon Roberts with a lot of confidence. Sean, start us off with this one. Actually, no, sorry, Sean. Seems only right that the offensive points guy should start us off on this one, actually. So.
I agree with the Roberts pick. We know how valuable that middle linebacker position is for the Steelers defense, so go him all day. And then Marquise Bell, Rashaan Evans is just – I don't think you can trust starting him. I think with the Rashaan Evans activated again this week, we see him play more of that linebacker role. So I'd go Donovan Wilson just because, I don't trust Donovan Wilson at all, but we know he's going to be playing.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. That's more than enough to sway my decision as well. I missed the Rashaan Evans, honestly, news. But yeah, good point there. Ricky, do you agree?
Yes. Well, let's start off. I absolutely agree on Landon Roberts. Murray's taken over the green dot. Murray's and Kendricks is playing lesser than Murray is. But the other thing I want to make sure people are aware of that are listening right now, this, everybody jumped on the Mark Robinson waiver trail. But all the reports are that Michael Walker, the former Falcon, who they picked up off the waivers and was on the practice squad, has now been elevated to the 53-man roster, is supposed to actually start alongside Landon Roberts and not Mark Robinson. So get Mark Robinson out of your lineup. If you're taking that, go see if Walker's on your waiver wire right now before somebody else grabs him. So that I just wanted to give that public service announcement. So Landon Roberts, though, over Kendricks. To your point on the snap count, I do think the blowout had something to do with it last week, Michael. Evans did play about 50% of the snaps roughly last week, but once again, that was in a blowout. Yes, they elevated him to the roster, but that whole Wilson, Hooker, Curse rotation thing that they have going on just has killed Wilson's productivity. I'm actually leaning towards Marquise Bell over Donovan Wilson on this one.
And you know what, Ricky, about that point you made about Mark Robinson and Michael Walker, all that really important information, where people could have found that earlier in the week, around like Wednesday, Thursday, was on the IDP guys Twitter account. Just want to point that out because we're always trying to find that IDP information as it comes in. So if you follow there, you get that news a couple of days ahead of time. So Sean, which IDPs are you taking here?
Yeah, definitely Landon Roberts. That's a great matchup. And it's going to be a lot of running there. So, and that's what he does. He's a run defender. This whole Bell versus Wilson thing, though, is just
not fun.
It sucks. It really does.
Yeah, I'd be checking the waiver wire to see what else.
Look for Jonathan Owens. I would play Jonathan Owens over both those guys, and he might be out.
That's a great call.
There's probably a lot I would play over both these guys. Bell's not getting the huge snap increase like we were hoping. It's probably going to be another blowout, so it's going to be.
He does also have Xavier McKinney on his bench, he says,
yes.
Which good matchup against Washington. You'd think with all the passing attempts that Washington averages. I would go McKinney over both those Dallas guys.
Yes, absolutely.
Amen.
Do that. Another waiver guy is Elijah Molden that I'm seeing a lot of places. People have not picked up on that yet, so. If he's available,
he's a quarter.
He's pretty solid.
Yeah. I believe his tackle line this week is around 5.5, that speaks well to his role, honestly, because that's pretty high for a defensive back and higher than those guys there. So good call out there. Let me try to find where we were. Oh my goodness. Will Power. Sorry. Go.
I was just gonna say on my fantasy league, Molden is listed as a cornerback, not a safety, even though he's playing safety now. So depending on how your point scoring system, that could be another bonus with Molden as well. So just another thought, Rugaru.
Hey,
Yes.
Michael, go a little higher there. We're
Yes, good eye.
go one more. There you go.
Fantasy sports. There we go. Good. Thank you, Sean. This is why we work so well together. It's not the first time either. Fantasy sports says he's starting for Olu Khan, which makes sense. Which other two linebackers should he start? Drew Tranquil on Monday night, Kazir White, Aziz Al-Shair, or Ernest Jones in his return from injuries. Oh man, which two? Oh man, that is difficult. I'm personally throwing Tranquil out. I think we're all gonna throw Tranquil out potentially, maybe. Sean still stroking the beard, still not sure.
Deep thoughts.
Ricky, I feel like you're confident right now. I feel like you have the answer in that noggin of yours. What do you got?
I mean, so I'm throwing Tranquil out as well. So it's down to, I'm feeling good about Kaiser White and I'm feeling good about Ernest Jones. Al-Shair, it was interesting. Only had 6 assisted tackles last week. No solos last week. Really weird stat line. Not sure if there was an injury or something, but just I'm just not feeling him this week. You know, call it one of Ricky's premonitions, but I'm going Kaiser and Ernest on this one. Hey, how many of those have you taken to the bank? Just saying, when I've had those premonitions. So remember the Jaquan Brisker sack. I mean, there's the Hufanga interception. Yeah. I mean, I could go to the list, but I'll spare you guys.
Who's winning the Super Bowl this year, Ricky?
What's that?
Who's winning the Super Bowl?
Oh, I haven't had that premonition yet. Okay. Let's come back to that.
No, you can't force them. You can't force. That's why you got to keep tuning in every single Sunday, because one of these weeks, Ricky's going to tell you a plus 5,000 hitter on gambling tips, and you're going to want to place that. So, either way, Joe, which two linebackers are you taking?
I'm going to go against Ricky here. I'm actually going to go Al-Shair and Kaiser White. I think Jacksonville just gives up points in droves with their usage of Etienne. And then, Kaiser White just gets it done every week. And Houston, they've been having a ton of plays pretty much all the time, scoring a lot. So a lot of tackle opportunities for him.
Sean.
I'm taking Al-Shair as my first guy. Because I do think Titans are going to be on the field. It's going to be the running game. It's going to be the short passing game. I do think Shair has a good week. And I think I'm steering clear of Ernest Jones in this one.
It's tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah. I'm not too sure I won't take Tranquil in this one.
Interesting.
I think I will take Tranquil. This is the challenge. Ricky up here. I'm going to take the two he did not.
Well, I feel like we're not very helpful because I'm gonna split it up here with another bunch. I'm gonna go Ernest Jones and Kazir White. I like Aziz this week. I like all these guys really, but Kazir White, to the point Joe made, has just made his hay and established such a ridiculous floor. And we know what the ceiling is given his snaps and workload. And I love Ernest Jones. There's prior to his injury, he was auto start every week. You don't even think about it. You plug and play. And I love this matchup against Seattle. I think it's going to be a really good one for him. So I'll go Ernest Jones and Kazir White, but I think you got plenty of good options there.
These all have a really great matchup this week. All of them.
Yeah. And Tranquil, by the way, with Tranquil and having the Monday night game as well, that's in case something happens, you never know. I mean, Tranquil has been injury prone, could pull a hammy in the pregame stuff. I'd rather go with the Sunday games on this one as well. Just one other thought.
And given that he's not an established guy, he's coming off the bye. I fully expect him to be out there. I expect him to be the guy that we've seen over the last month with Nick Bolton hurt. But you never know. Maybe Will Gay gets the run. Maybe Willie Gay gets the run, and maybe Leo Chenal finally gets the reps he deserves. Who knows? Either way, I could rant for an hour about Leo Chenal. Either way, willpower. Cam Bynum, Reed Blankenship. Bynum coming off a very weird off week. Reed Blankenship having that KC matchup. Good options both around. Top 5 DBs on the season pretty much. So tough to pick between. But Sean, you got to pick one.
I believe the Broncos are giving up the absolute least points to safeties. So
That is correct.
and
Bottom three,
with
sure.
Bynum having some down weeks here lately, I don't see that changing this week. It's Blankenship for me, which should be a shootout. So I'm expecting him to come up and definitely make a bunch of tackles.
I'm in agreement there personally, but
I mean, too.
I see nods all around. We're all going with Reed?
Yeah, Sean clearly had his Wheaties and absolutely agree with Blankenship. And I just, I'm sorry, sometimes I crack myself up. But I can just see Kelsey catching, 9 balls and Blankenship getting 7 tackles of those across the middle,
Right.
easily kind of thing. So, and you hit it spot on. Broncos just aren't giving up points to safety. So Reed's the man.
Yep, completely in agreement there. Now we're all good. Let's see over here to. Yeah. So that's a comment from Will Power there as I struggle to pull it on the screen. Ricky, giving some love for the old man Wagner this week. What gives Corner Will Power?
It's the
Well,
holidays.
Thank you, Sean, for bailing me out. I was at a loss for words on that one. Yep. Never mind. That's good.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if it was if you had a response, if you had a what gives, if you didn't have a what gives. I was gonna move on.
How
Yeah,
often am I speechless, and will put me in a speechless mode on that one?
Always love seeing Will Power in the chat. Fancy Brayo saying picking between these Minnesota backs here: Alexander Mattison, Ty Chandler. Mattison being the second player this year and the only other player other than Brock Purdy to return within a week from a concussion. Not sure how medically that works, but I'm not a scientist or a doctor, not a scientist. Alexander Mattison, Ty Chandler, popular waiver pickup versus bust of a pick. Joe, which one are you picking here?
Okay, so for this week, I'm going Madison. It's sketchy. I don't like it at all, but we've seen him be the starter thus far. Really upset that he is playing. One, because I hope he actually heals his head and doesn't just put himself through that again. But two, because Ty Chandler looked awesome. He had the 32-yarder called back last week and everything. What this is, though, is a super pivotal game for these two, because if Ty Chandler comes out and did what he did last week, I think we see the momentum flip in this backfield to Ty Chandler. So for this week, I'm going Madison, but probably for the rest of the season, it's going to be Ty Chandler. So don't drop any of these dudes yet.
It feels like a Carolina situation.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Sanders underperforming, Alexander Madison underperforming. You have that backup that could have some juice, and they're probably going to want to see it at some point. But I agree with you that for now, I think I'd want to play Madison. Ricky, do you have a preference?
I have to lean towards Madison as well. He's the incumbent starter. It's the Broncos. If you watch the game and they were talking about how much better the Denver defense is, maybe against the pass, but not necessarily against the run. If Buffalo would have stuck to a run game script, the way Cook was destroying them, the way Murray was, I think they would have come out ahead. And because Madison will probably get the start, I think he'll be able to be successful, and he'll hold off Chandler from taking too many snaps this week. So I'm going to go with Madison and lean with my partners in crime here.
Sean.
Yeah, I'm really thinking about going against you guys and taking Chandler here, just because I do think he has the bigger splash play, the big run here that could outdo Madison this week. It's a great matchup for both. They almost hinder each other here to the point where you can't fully trust either one. You can't just throw them in there and almost start either one as your top guy anyway. Man, I'm feeling Chandler right now. I think with what we've seen, they've been trying to replace Madison all season, and nothing is stuck. But I think it's because the offense itself hasn't been able to get the running game going. And I think Chandler is more talented, and he's younger, he's fresher. I think he wins it this week and takes it from Madison.
Counterpoint.
It's a good. Oh, sorry, Ricky.
I'm sorry, Michael. I was just going to say counterpoint. If Chandler was that much better, why did they trade for Akers to begin with? if they had that much confidence in Chandler. There's a reason they didn't. Don't disagree that they didn't like Madison, but they traded for Akers because they didn't have the confidence in Chandler. So, I'd love for Chandler to be successful, but sorry, Michael.
And to pivot one more time off of Sean's point, Michael, I'm sorry, is Madison. Man, when Akers was in there, Akers started looking good, and Madison stepped his game up and held on to that job. So clearly he responds well to pressure. And I would argue that last week before the concussion, he probably looked the best that he did all season in that RB1 role. So, but I think it's pivotal. I mean, after seeing what Chandler could do last week, it's definitely a situation to monitor going forward.
I'm worried about Madison getting hit again in the head. We see that last year with Tua getting hit, way too soon. And like Michael said, he's coming right back. He's not missing a game here. So I feel like his chances of re-injury are very high. So one wrong hit or, just landing wrong, slamming into the ground itself could be enough to knock Madison out. But yeah, I understand what you guys are saying. I'm ready for a change.
I do love how much thought we're all putting into this for them both to end up with 8 carries for 20 yards and no scores. Like this is just a bad rushing attack to begin with as well. So that everyone, I think it needs to temper their expectations because Minnesota just hasn't been able to run the ball well all year, no matter who gets the ball, and just they live and die by the pass.
And Dobbs is going to vulture those TD runs probably.
Dobbs is a star in the making. Josh Dobbs, send him to the moon. He'll find life out there. Will Power with arguably the most important question of today, a survivor pool pick. Mm-hmm. Because listen, this is it. And as someone who has been out since like week 5 or 6, this matters. I live on through these questions. So Detroit versus Chicago or Washington against the Giants. Which one is a better survivor pool pick? Will Power Survivor League on the line here. Joe, which one are you going with?
The Bears fan in me says Detroit, but the Bears find every single way to piss me off, and it wouldn't shock me if they make this a game today. I would God.
It's not easy. I
also out there with him.
I believe I'm picking both of these underdogs to cover in this one. So I do think that both games are going to be closer than people expect.
Yeah, I mean, Washington would have been my pick, but with 0 pass rush, I know they're not doing anything anyway, but, unless they score a lot of points, I don't trust it. I guess I'd go Detroit, and very begrudgingly.
Ricky.
I'm going Washington on this one. Tommy DeVito and that offensive line, I'm sorry. And if this is one when you use them and lose them kind of thing, which I assume it is for this survival pool, I'd rather save Detroit. Fields could end up, going nutso. I mean, Detroit's been exposed defensively. And Fields coming back, DJ Moore could end up with 150 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Fields could break an 80-yard run. I'd rather take my chances and have my defense going against Tommy freaking, I live with my parents down the road, DeVito versus Justin Fields.
Sean.
Yeah, I'm with Ricky. I think that was spot on. Survivor, I want to try to hold on to Detroit for another week. So yeah, and I think Washington's got this one.
I'm gonna agree, and I think Ricky brings up a great point about assuming that this is a use and lose it type of situation. This is as good as it will get the rest of the way for Washington. There's a home game against all the amazing talent that Ricky laid out before about this Giants team, and while I do think they keep it close, I'm not going to pick Washington against Dallas, Miami, Rams, Jets in New York, or San Fran. Those are the remaining matchups for Washington. So if you do have to pick them at some point, this is as good as it gets in a home game against Tommy DeVito, which I wouldn't be surprised if we see Matt Barkley by halftime. I really wouldn't be, and I think that's how the Giants start winning games. But that's not much better either. And if you're gonna pick one, I'm gonna go with Washington as well. So yeah, good to be good to agree with you guys. Let's see. Next question here. Perks up also saying thank you for the Devin Lloyd advice against Frisco. So always happy to help on this show. Not sure who recommended it, if that was Ricky or Sean or whichever, but either way,
I'm sure it was me.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm sure it was him also.
Yeah, no, all the right ones are Ricky and all the wrong ones are Sean. I think that's the way that our co-owner has organized it here, right? I believe. But anyway, picking one here between Quay Walker, who is questionable but I believe expected to play, Jalen Phillips or Kenneth Murray. Is it worth it to risk Quay? I'm playing Quay Walker without too much hesitation. Easily has the highest tackle on of this bunch, and as much as I like Ken Murray and Jalen Phillips as a talent, Quay Walker just is so much safer with the highest ceiling as well of this trio. So that's where I lean here. Joe, I think I saw you nodding along. So are you in agreement? You got difference? What do you got?
Yeah, it would be Quay Walker. I mean, no one has the tackle potential that he has. Unless you're in like a real sacks-heavy league, I don't see a reason to go away from Quay.
And Ricky, what about you?
Yeah, Michael, you brought up a great point earlier about Green Bay's offense and their number of plays and how slow their offense runs and so forth, which just takes away from Murray's opportunities and so forth. And assuming Walker, I haven't checked the actives and inactives, but assuming he's active, I'm going to go with Quay along with you two as well.
Round us out here, Sean.
Yeah, it's unanimous. It's Walker for us. He's such a a stud. We've hated not having him in the game the last several weeks. So for him to come back, he goes right back into one of the top linebackers in IDP. So yeah.
And a quick question for all three of you guys: does he get ejected in the third quarter or the second quarter?
I think after halftime.
After halftime. Okay, so we're on quarters played because Quay Walker launches himself in dumb situations, but he will be very good if he doesn't do that. So yeah, we're all in agreement on that one. Fancy breakout here. One empty spot on the bench. Who should you pick for potential? I love these questions. Potential questions or potential upside rest of season in half PPR. Picking one for the stash. I assume that's he seems to. So I'm assuming that's Rondale Moore, Jameson Williams, Marvin Mims, or I assume that's Zay Jones. Yeah,
a lot of assuming going on here.
First letters, but they aren't, so I was confused. But either way, Joe, take your pick here for a rest of season stash.
Oh, this one's tough. Basically, I would go Rondale Moore. The half PPR definitely hurts him, but I think with Jameson Williams, I really like DPJ as a player. I don't know how you guys are, but I think he starts getting involved, and Jameson has done nothing to show that coaching staff that he deserves a spot. Marvin Mims was on social media the other day saying that Russ doesn't throw the ball to me, so maybe that squeaky wheel gets the grease. Judy hasn't really done much to get it. And then Zay Jones has the legal troubles, so I would go Rondale Moore, but I'm not super pumped about that. Probably
Ricky.
Between him and Mims for me. But.
Yeah, that's who it is for me as well, between those two. Ricky, which one are you picking?
If not for the legal trouble, it would have been Zay Jones easily for me. But the legal trouble, can't take that chance of him getting put on the commissioner's exempt list or something along those lines. Surprised it hasn't happened yet, to be honest with you. So you got to throw out Zay from that regard. The one thing, so I agree with Moore versus Mims. The one caveat for fantasy breakout, if you get points in your league too for kick and punt return yards, then it is absolutely Mims for me. So I'm still actually leaning towards Mims. Sean Payton he's a smart guy. Look, there's a reason he hasn't been playing him. We do see some of these rookies as the year progresses, they catch on more and more of what they're supposed to be doing. And Sean has a pretty intricate offense. Hoping that the light goes on for Mims. I'd rather the upside of Mims as opposed to the floor of Moore.
And Sean.
Yeah, so I was just doing some research. I didn't know Zay Jones was in any kind of trouble, and that does not look good. He is active this week, but I imagine he will.
Not his first time being in trouble either. Yeah, this
right,
issue.
right. And man, he's I think he's the big catalyst to that Jacksonville passing attack. Like he really opens it up for Ridley and Kirk anyway. But yeah, he would have been the choice. But I think Rondale Moore has the most potential here with the best quarterback play between these other guys. Jameson Williams has done nothing for me. I've been calling him a bust for a while. Marvin Mims, that offense is just, I don't trust Russell Wilson. I don't trust that offense to get him the ball. Yeah, Rondale Moore, this guy here.
I'm going to agree with Ricky on this one. I'm going to go with Marvin Mims.
Smart man.
To the fault of my own self here. I keep waiting for the week for Marvin Mims. I keep waiting for it. And I haven't got it. And at this point, maybe it's a sunk cost fallacy that I'm willing to just go all in on this one. But he has a great end of season schedule. You got Chargers, Detroit, New England, Chargers again over the last 4 weeks of the season. Those are all top half matchups for wide receivers. So I'll go with Marvin Mims here on the also belief of what we alluded to before. Jerry Jeudy is just not working out in this system. I love Jerry Jeudy. It's just not working out in Denver. And what Ricky said before, we see rookie receivers make that jump all the time late in the year, especially in plus matchups like I said we got going on. So another one from Fantasy Sports here. We're going to try to speed it up here with the final 10 minutes to get to all of your questions because we always have plenty from you amazing people. Question in here, if he has to drop one quarterback, he only is starting one. You're not dropping Stroud. So Kyler Murray or Trevor Lawrence? I love those questions. You just throw one out. But take your pick here, guys. We'll go with Sean first here. Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, who are you cutting?
I'm cutting Trevor Lawrence. It just hasn't happened this season. Kyler Murray looked like a beast. He looks fine. I'm keeping him. But I'm starting Stroud probably all year.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm planning on as well.
We'll make it quick. Trevor Lawrence.
Agreeing for
Lawrence.
me. Yep. All right, we're all throwing Lawrence to the wind here. What a shame. One of the worst future bets I made. I don't know. Andrew, you, a very important update here. Hufanga did score more than one over last week. I wish we saw this comment at the top of the show. But, Andrew, if you didn't see the start of the show, this is how we all started off. So this was always good to have you back in the chat because we love seeing reoccurring stuff like this. So to start, Hufanga over Blankenship, Buda Baker, Cam Bynum. So basically, I assume we're picking one of this four bunch. I'm going to go Reed Blankenship here for all the reasons we laid out before. Love him against KC. Have some concerns against Bynum. Have some concerns for Bynum, and Blankenship's just been awesome. So that's where I'm going to go. Joe, do you have a preference?
Yeah, I would go Hufanga over Bynum. Over what we talked about earlier, they're just Broncos aren't giving many points up. So,
let's go. Ricky.
I'm going for what we talked about earlier on Blankenship. That's why I'm going about Blankenship. And Andrew, if I had some money to Venmo you, I'd Venmo you some money for bringing that up and pointing out how I was right. So thank you, Andrew. Love you, brother.
Like you didn't pay him to say this already. Gone.
Yeah, it's Ricky's burner account. If anybody needs to know that, yeah, it's Blankenship for sure.
Andrew, you doesn't exist. It's
yeah.
It is not my burner account. I do not have a burner account for the record.
So
Exactly
our data asking here, if Quay Walker doesn't play, we expect him to, but if he doesn't, Khalil Mack or Hassan Reddick, I'll go Khalil Mack. I do not love that. I don't like any pass rusher against Patrick Mahomes. He just finds a way to avoid sacks every single week. It's infuriating and also amazing to watch. I see a sea of shaking heads. So is anybody playing Hassan Reddick here?
Yeah, I will.
You'll play Hassan Reddick. Okay,
Yep.
There we go. So there's the alternative. Do you have any other?
If Walker doesn't play.
If Walker does, yeah, of course.
Now, Andrew, you did post, and that is not my burner account, but Andrew did post that Quay is playing today, further down in the chat. So, I think we go with Quay over the other two, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there we go. Let's go. Grant here with the question. I hope I can hear you answer this. Just in case, we'll give him some hand signals. Golf for a thumbs up or Howell. So picking between them. Everyone? Interesting. I thought this would be unanimous. I love both, but wow. Wow, a 50-50 split. Well, it's good to know that me and Joe are on the right side of this one, and this is something I for sure want to revisit.
This one we may need to follow up on next
Yeah,
week.
I am floored you guys aren't going with Goff in this one. Home game against the Bears? No, okay, whatever. I'm trying to keep it quick. We got 5 minutes left.
How against the Giants, Darnay Holmes, and I mean,
Thibodeau's back.
they're both great options.
Yeah,
but Howell runs a little bit more. I'm going to give Howell the edge.
Yeah. I don't know if it's Calibre or Calibre, but UK. He's got an IDP question and an offensive question in here. I'm assuming that's Bradley Chubb or Christian Wilkins. And he's also picked. We'll start with that one. Chubb or Wilkins. I'm going to go Wilkins, although Chubb has been better than I expected him to over the last month. But I'll go Wilkins slightly. But I do like Chubb a little bit as well this week. Joe?
Yeah, I would go with the upside of Chubb here. I like them both. I don't think you can go wrong with either one, but I see Chubb getting to the quarterback.
Ricky?
Yep. I'm the same. I love both options, but I love Chubb. There was a premonition. There was a feeling. I feel a Chubb sack. Just saying. Maybe even a sack. Wait, did I feel a sack and a half? Maybe even on Chubb. I might have felt it. Might have felt it.
Tune it in, man. Like, get the signal just right.
Sean?
Yeah, I'm with you guys on Chubb. I like Wilkins too, though.
Yeah, I have no issues with either of them. I kind of think Miami manhandles Vegas in this one, to be completely honest. As good as they've looked with Antonio Pierce hiring at head coach, or promotion rather. Let's go around the horn again here for the offensive side of this. Nico Collins, Saquon Barkley, or DeAndre Hopkins. Is anyone not playing Saquon Barkley? Let's try it this way. As much as I like Nico Collins, is anyone not playing Saquon Barkley here?
I'm not.
Then go for it, Ricky.
I am absolutely going Nico over Barkley on this one. I just think Houston is going to put up a lot of yards and points in the air. And I just don't, even against Washington's offense and all, Barkley will carry it 16 times to 18 times for 71 yards kind of thing. Maybe catch a pass. I just don't see it. I could see Nico getting 7 for 130 and a touchdown.
Yeah, I have no hate to. I will not talk down about Nico Collins. I love him so much. So no issues there. I'll go Saquon.
I would go Nico too, but sorry,
I'll go Nico as well. Sean?
Yeah.
No, I'm with you guys. Nico.
Okay, so I'm the only one going Saquon.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
If Matt Barkley comes in and Saquon Barkley actually gets back to his receptions that he's been seeing, but Tommy DeVito is just chicken with his head cut off, man. He doesn't even look for him half the time. So
yeah, it's fair enough. And there's no, like I said, nothing wrong with Nico Collins. I think he's going to have a great week. I think Barkley gets it done this week on the workload against a Washington defense that does not scare me in the slightest. But few minutes left, and we're going to get to all these questions. We're going to rapid fire this as soon as I figure out where I am. Thoughts on Kyle Hamilton after another bad game after a really good game? This is kind of what it's been for him. We haven't seen consistent tackle numbers. He's a great player, so he makes do on the big plays of interceptions and pass breakups and forced fumbles and things like that. He makes the splash plays, but he hasn't had the tackle numbers based on the usage he's getting. Right? Is there anybody else want to add on to that? Or
treat him like you used to treat Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah,
and just know if you need a big game, put him in there, but go with someone safer on the off weeks.
I'm still holding him right underneath. He asked the question about does he hold on to him? I'm still holding on, and I think I love Joe's commentary there on that one.
All in agreement. Okay. Yep. Brian Haman here or Haman, I don't know. Jordan Brooks or Quay Walker, Nico Collins or James Conner. Good question here. I'll go Quay Walker with some confidence here. I'm playing Quay in most situations. Anyone playing Jordan Brooks? Nope. Okay, we're going Quay Walker. And then Nico Collins or James Conner. James Conner's really productive with Kyler Murray in the past. Nico Collins, we just talked about how much we all like him. That's difficult, so I'm going to throw to you guys first. Ricky, which one are you taking?
I'm feeling Nico Collins today, and Houston's defense against overall hasn't been too shabby.
Yep.
And so, and the one thing about Connor too, they didn't throw him a single target last week, if I remember correctly.
Nope.
And so, with that in mind, I'm going with Nico on that one as well. On that one as well.
Sean
Yeah, I'm sticking with Nico here.
and Joe.
Yeah, with Noah Brown out and Robert Woods banged up, Nico's his guy. We're going to see a lot of Nico and Dell today. I like Connor, but Nico.
Yep, I'll go Nico as well. Make it unanimous here. TM with the question here: how would we rank these safeties rest of season? Kyle Hamilton, Trayvon Moehrig, who's been very productive, Jonathan Owens, who is for now the starter with everyone else hurt, Justin Simmons, Rudy Ford. And is Jonathan Owens' value reliant on Savage remaining on the IR? Yes, I think we all agree because Jonathan Owens is a not very good player, but he gets a lot of tackles. And that's kind of what he always has been since Houston. So I'll go with Moehrig, Hamilton, Owens, and I really don't for Simmons, Ford. Why not? I don't really care about the last two. Joe, do you have an order?
I love Rudy Ford. I think I would go Moehrig, Ford,
Hamilton,
Simmons, Hamilton, Owens. That's kind of where it's fallen for me. The bicep injury is concerning for Ford, but assuming
that's why I'm almost
he
out.
gets
Ricky?
Moehrig is much lower on the list for me. So I've got Hamilton and Simmons.
Simmons over Moehrig.
Yes, and then I'd go Owens and Moehrig. I have Moehrig down last. And I'm leaving out Rudy Ford. Yep, out of this discussion.
Yeah, if Ford is healthy, he's my top guy out of this group. And then it's Moehrig, Hamilton, Simmons, Owens.
Yeah, I guess I'm just worried about what Rudy Ford's rest of season looks like with the injury.
Yeah.
So it depends on the risk you want to take here, TM. Willpower with the for the start, but you could also go with Houston at home, or the Chargers against the Packers. I think I'll still stick with Washington for the reason we said before of there just isn't a better matchup coming along for Washington. So if you're trying to outlast the rest of the pool, sure, you can go with a better team. But if you have to go the distance and pick every team for a win, I think it has to be Washington, right? Would anyone make a change here from what they said before?
No.
Nope.
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Let's go. Ruguru saying he's been waiting for Mims, but since you dropped him for Herbert and AJ, we have to do what you got to do.
Yep.
We did that. Andrew, we're going to rapid fire these because we're already over an hour, but we always want to get to your questions. Michael Hoyt, Kobe Turner, both of which Kobe Turner had a monster week before the bye, and Sheldon Rankings. Okay. I'm going to go Kobe Turner. I was very impressed by what he put together before the bye. I don't mind Michael Hoyt either, but I'll go Kobe Turner. Ricky, which one are you going with here?
Rankins had a monster game as well.
Yes,
his last two games have been pretty good. I have to admit, I'm leaning a little bit toward Rankins. I'm leaning a little bit toward Rankins on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. Joe.
Yeah, I think Kyler Murray could run into a sack today, so I'd go Rankins.
He does do that. He does do that on occasion. That's fair enough. I have no problem with the rankings. I'm going to stick with Kobe Turner. Willpower, Stroud or Dak?
Ooh.
Stroud.
That's not easy. I'll go Stroud as well because I love that matchup, and I could see a world where Dak just doesn't need to throw a ton against Carolina. So I'll go Stroud. Yeah. But anyone going Dak?
The national media has been crapping on Pollard, so I would go Stroud because I think they're going to try to get him involved.
I agree with that point, but Ricky, you're going Dak?
I'm going Dak. Last week I thought it would be a blowout game, which it was, and we all thought it was. And that we even talked about the risk of Dak sitting out a half a game, whatever. But man, he just torched it up. And even though this is a 10.5-point game, based on what they did last week, I think the same thing's going to happen. They don't have much of a running game. I'm going Dak over Stroud. Both great options, but I'm going Dak.
Pick one: Lockett, Nico Collins, Christian Watson. Nico Collins. Anyone? I think after all the love we've spewed for Nico Collins on the show, I feel like we all are going Nico Collins right now, right?
Yeah. Particularly with
Cool.
Lockett, with the potential injury, he could end up, getting hurt during the game. Yep.
Ruger was saying thank you for the show, whichever Mercy Buku. If I'm saying it correctly. It's good to have another super solid IDP venue. Always happy to have you on as a potential reoccurring person. It's awesome to see. You had some great questions today too, so happy to have all of you people. Twin Calibre saying Josh Allen against the Jets or CJ Stroud against the Cardinals. These quarterbacks here, not defensive ends. I'm just going Stroud again.
Stroud again, yeah. That's
Stroud.
Jets defense is
What a world.
awesome.
What an awesome world we live in.
Particularly if they have turnovers, if they get penalized for turnovers, definitely Stroud.
Yeah, and I do think Allen bounces back this week. I think the Bills bounce back, but yeah, I agree with that. I'll still go Stroud. I think it's just a much higher floor. Stroud or Herbert? This is a Stroud ending here. Stroud or Herbert? Herbert against a tougher Packers defense that hasn't allowed a lot of points to quarterbacks, but is Justin Herbert or CJ Stroud against Arizona?
I'd go Stroud.
He's going Stroud. Ricky?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Oh, Sean going Stroud. Ricky?
I'm going Stroud by a hair because the Chargers wide receivers and being hurt and the Everett being out as well. So I'm going Stroud.
I'll go Herbert. I just have to. I think it's just too tried and true for me right now, and I nothing against Stroud. They're both great. I agree with Ricky in the sense that it's by a hair. Thanks for the advice. Good to see you, R3. Last question in here. Matthew Pascas, half PPR, Nico or Rashad White, I guess. Nico, right? We're all going Nico, even though Rashad White's been terrific over the last month.
Rashad White's been really good, but
yeah.
I go Nico.
Yep.
All right, so we're good. And to end it off here, Nate's saying, how about the new start sit graphics? I think they're okay. You know, I think it's okay. I think personally I could have designed a lot better. I can't design a smiley face. But either way, thank you guys for
that
joining
color
me.
palette is rough.
I'm basically colorblind. But
Must
either
be a
way,
Lions fan.
yeah, he is a Lions fan.
He is a Lions fan.
Exactly. Yeah. So that a little bias resting into all of our shows, I suppose. But either way, thank you guys for tuning in. Amazing questions. Always good to get so many, especially this late into the season. I think sign of everything that's going well here over at IDP Plus as we're heading into that new transition. I want everyone to. I know Ricky's got something to say here. Ricky, you want to sign off / give your final say off?
Last thing, real quick. IDP 50 last day of the sale. 50% off a rest of season subscription. IDP 50 rest of season 50% off. Take advantage of it, folks.
Yep, that comes out to just $15 for the rest of the season. And again, not only do you get access to our amazing tools and our Discord, articles, rankings, all that good stuff, but I think it's also a perfect opportunity to see whether you want to do this next year. You pay a very cheap price to try it out, see all the new stuff we're adding and all the new stuff that's coming, and then see if you like it and you're able to get a discount start next season. It's a good way to test it out as well as win your league for the playoff push that everyone's trying to make at the same time. But Joe, thank you for joining us. Sean, thank you for joining us. Ricky, thank you for joining us. Everyone want to give a little sign off here. Joe,
Go Bears.
Go Bears. Ricky, can't say go Saints.
I cannot say go Saints because they're on bye. That's exactly right. Hope everybody wins their matchups this week.
A wholesome response. Sean?
Yeah, good luck, everybody. We'll catch you next week.
And I'll apologize for the Steelers today putting on one of the very ugly games, unless you play IDP, because that's going to be great for IDP. Either way, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next Sunday for another Start Sit show here at IDP Plus. Good to see everybody. Good luck with your matchups and good luck with Week 11.